The actual cost of royal executions extends far beyond the life of the principal victim. High-status purges rarely stopped at a single block. They created a devastating ripple effect, leading to the immediate downfall and elimination of entire families, factions, and loyal allies. The execution of Lady Jane Grey, for example, followed the prior execution of her father-in-law, the Duke of Northumberland. Her husband, Lord Guildford Dudley, was executed alongside her, and his remaining family members were imprisoned or subsequently killed. The goal of such systematic elimination, particularly in political systems with unclear succession rules, was to totally eradicate all possible future threats or rallying points to the new regime. This logic of total eradication explains why the systematic killing of competitors within a royal family, including siblings and cousins, was a common historical practice to prevent royal competition. In the Ottoman Empire, for instance, royal family members were customarily executed by strangulation, a method seen as marginally less dishonourable than decapitation, to ensure dynastic security. The cascade of violence initiated by the death of a monarch or claimant is often a precursor to a comprehensive political purge aimed at preventing any future challenge. The use of systemic execution as a tool for ideological cleansing is perhaps most chillingly demonstrated in the 20th century with the fate of the Russian Imperial Romanov family. Following the Bolshevik Revolution, Tsar Nicholas II, Tsarina Alexandra and their 5 children were shot and stabbed to death in Yekaterinburg in July 1918. What makes this event a complete illustration of the domino effect is the fact that the revolutionary purge extended beyond the royal bloodline to include the non-royal entourage who remained loyal to the Tsar. Among the 11 people killed that night were the court physician, the lady-in-waiting, the footman, and the head cook. The deliberate inclusion of these retainers in the massacre shows that the goal was not just dynastic change, but the total annihilation of the entire royal institution and every person loyal to it. The perpetrators then mutilated the bodies with grenades and acid and hid them to prevent identification. This post-execution ruthlessness, much like the Tudor regime's hurried burials, was a calculated attempt to avoid the executed family from becoming martyrs. Though the Bolsheviks controlled the information flow, the common public later romanticized the family's tragic death, seeing them as innocent martyrs, confirming the difficulty, even for absolute regimes, in controlling the historical narrative. The violence necessary to maintain or acquire absolute power pollutes everyone it touches, including the agents of the state itself. Historical and contemporary evidence shows that carrying out the death penalty imposes a severe and psychological burden on those involved. Studies on corrections staff who participate in modern executions reveal that they often suffer adverse mental health effects, including depression, anxiety, and PTSD symptoms similar to those experienced by war veterans. Psychologists usually describe this experience as moral injury or executioner stress, where the act of causing another person's death directly contradicts one's deeply held beliefs, creating severe psychological disruption. This psychological fallout among the state's agents provides a powerful counter-narrative to the spectacle of power. It confirms that the apparatus of absolute control is inherently destructive, damaging the mental health and moral stability of those required to operate it. The legacy of royal executions is paradoxical. These acts of ultimate violence ultimately paved the way for the establishment of modern accountability and human rights. The concept of the divine right of kings, which asserted that monarchs derived their authority from God and were unaccountable to human beings, was fiercely held for centuries. However, early documents such as the Magna Carta in 1215 began to guarantee rights and establish the radical idea that the law applied equally to all, including the monarch. The decisive break came with the trial and execution of Charles I in 1649, when Parliament convicted him of treason for waging war against his own subjects. The principle that the sovereign could be held accountable was confirmed providing a foundational shift in political thought. This violent historical regicide served as a powerful metaphor for the subsequent political movement to dismantle systems based on inherited privilege and exclusion. The judicial killing of Charles I created the space for political thinkers like John Locke to articulate concepts of natural rights, which are inherent to all people merely by being human. This moment of political revolution directly led to the establishment of legal checks on executive power, as seen in the Habeas Corpus Act of 1679 and the Bill of Rights following the 1688 revolution. In this way, the historical violence that ended the absolute monarchy ultimately served as a violent blueprint for systems that uphold accountability and human rights. The political system of monarchy survives today because it has adapted to the harsh historical lessons demonstrated by the bloc and the scaffold. Contemporary monarchies recognise that absolute power was a profound political liability. The majority of surviving global crowns have evolved into constitutional monarchies, also known as limited or parliamentary monarchies. In these systems, the monarch functions as a symbolic hereditary head of state, constrained by a constitution, does not wield executive or policy-making authority. Following the Glorious Revolution in 1688, active political leadership transferred to ministers accountable as an elected parliament. Modern monarchs persist because they offer valuable non-partisan headship and continuity, standing apart from daily political struggles. Their continued existence is ultimately conditional on public support and operating within a restrained, established legal framework. The constitutional crown is, in effect, a form of self-preservation, where monarchs voluntarily ceded the authority that historically made them targets. The chilling narratives of royal executions, the calculated downfall of Lady Jane Grey, the fabricated charges against Anne Boleyn, and the ruthless annihilation of the Romanov family serve as eternal warnings about the nature of unchecked power. These historical grim realities highlight the necessity of accountability and the dangers inherent in systems where power is consolidated in the hands of the few. The struggle to hold the power accountable remains eternal, whether it involves prosecuting corrupt leaders or dismantling oligarchies. History shows that when the rule of law is weak or ignored, high status offers no proper protection. It merely makes one a larger target in the next political purge. Power is always fluid, and when challenged, it defends itself with decisive and brutal force. The cost of political instability is never borne solely by the sovereign, but by every individual connected to the regime. The historical record confirms that extreme injustice must sometimes be met with extreme measures to dismantle oppressive structures. The truth unveiled by the scaffold is that royal executions were the ultimate exercise in power, often lacking justice, yet providing the necessary shockwaves that define the boundaries of subsequent political legitimacy. On reflection, when society allows power to become absolute, are we condemning not just the ruler, but every person around them to the price of a crown?